Shill.
Shill for sure.
Oh yeah, Schillzilla's back. Brought him back. He's here. We know Chris Schillzilla. He's the primary sort of YouTube star of CNN. He's not allowed on TV, but they'll let him have a YouTube channel. And remember when we were watching the State of the Union, Gonz, and there was that sort of strange, handsome young man who looked like he was up to something?
Yes.
And we didn't know who he was.
Yeah. The chat clearly did. We did not know.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't know. But I think here's the thing. If we are not the most vocal critics of Chris Schillzilla with sort of the widest audience, we are at least on the top 5 list.
Nobody covers Chris Schillzilla quite like we do.
In the world gives as much attention. Not even CNN.
No, not CNN.
Nobody gives.
That's just a byproduct.
Chris Schillzilla the attention that we do here on this show.
It's not even CNN.
And if he is not aware of us,
he's got to be aware of us.
I would be impressed at his ability to sort of not care about what's going on the internet. But more and more, I'm sort of convinced that maybe he has somebody sending him these clips. And that's because, well, I think you heard. We had no idea who Madison Cawthorn was.
He's going to fill the gap for us.
So yes, Chris Schillzilla is here to fill the gaps of our knowledge specifically. I mean, this article may as well start out like, hey, Basil and Gonz, you ever seen this guy? No. Well, let me tell you. So the article is titled, Madison Cawthorn is having a very bad week, with some asterisks around very. It starts out, TGIF, right?
What?
In classic Schillzilla fashion.
Is that his way of trying to do the Friday jingle to us? That's weird. I feel weird about that.
Could be. I don't know, man.
It's kind of like...
No, and it says here, Dear Basil and Gonz, no one likely is happier to see this week in the rear view mirror. No one likely is happier to see this week in the rear view mirror, more on that in a second, than North Carolina Republican Representative Madison Cawthorn, who has had a hellish last few days.
Okay.
That is a very confusing sentence.
It sounds like he's doing speech to text.
Yeah.
And forgot to take out his note to self.
Earlier this week, CNN reported that for the second time in the last 5 years, Cawthorn was facing charges of driving with a revoked license. Hold on. Charged with driving with a revoked license. Why is his license revoked? So this man, this Cawthorn, Madison Cawthorn, good-looking guy, young guy. If he's out of his 20s,
he's a strapping young man.
He's a strapping young man in a wheelchair.
Yes,
another very interesting sort of aspect to his whole thing. This man in a wheelchair has gotten in trouble twice in 5 years, Chris Schillzilla, okay, for driving with a revoked license. Why is his license revoked?
Is it because he called Ukrainian president a thug?
Is it because he's in a wheelchair? I know some people in wheelchairs can have a car
you can drive.
That has the pedals on the hands.
Yeah, there's a whole thing.
Yeah, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
26-year-old congressman.
Wow.
He's 26 years old.
Hey, they're setting it up, man. Once this man walks, we're in the transhuman future.
Oh.
Yeah.
That is a good call. I cannot find why his license is revoked. He, according to Bethea Court calendars...
He's too good looking.
He had the 2017 driving with a revoked license dismissed. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he didn't actually get in trouble for that.
Okay.
Was in a state of revoke. Sorry, I'm so just trying to figure this out because it's so weird.
Just
Trooper
a
pulled
lot of
over a
revoked.
2019 Toyota for a left of center violation.
Okay, he drove
on US
89 in a 65 zone. Let's see. He's
Oh,
pulled
that was
over.
that was in 2017. He was in a state of revoke. There's no info on why his license is revoked in the first place.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, and by the way, in case anybody's wondering what I'm looking at, there's a separate article.
There's a
by
hyperlink
Diane,
to an article.
Yeah, Gallagher, North Carolina Representative Madison Cawthorn charged with driving with revoked license, posted yesterday about a story in 2017. A license can be revoked for several reasons, including moving violations while license is suspended, speeding, and accumulation of points. Among other violations, it is not known why Cawthorn's license was revoked. Driver license histories are confidential under federal privacy law. Okay, well, we don't know why.
But he must be a bad person.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is basically Chris Schillzilla is writing a gossip column about Madison Cawthorn.
Yeah.
So here we go. And that charge was one of 3 pending traffic citations against the congressman. Ooh, a congressman with traffic citations. Can you believe it? In a world where Nancy Pelosi has been insider trading for years,
yeah,
half of our Congress has business interests in Ukraine. And, all the crimes, not to mention the improprieties of a more adult nature. No, we got to write an article about this 26-year-old congressman who has some traffic citations. The other 2 were for speeding. Oh, you want to hear about the speeding tickets, Gonz? One was for doing 89 in a 65 zone.
Oh, especially criminal for a guy in a wheelchair. Let me tell you. I mean, can't let a guy in a wheelchair go that fast.
I mean, maybe he has a motorized wheelchair and it's like jamming down the highway.
He's already a cyborg. His legs are
the other
speed car.
The other for going 87 miles per hour in a 70 mile per hour zone.
He was trying to time travel.
What
he
a
didn't quite get to
criminal. Schillzilla, stop it. Then on Thursday, now we'll get into the real stuff. Then on Thursday, a video surfaced of a recent speech Cawthorn gave to supporters in which he described Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky as a thug and called the Ukrainian government incredibly evil. He also insisted without explanation that the Ukrainian government was, quote, pushing woke ideologies. Ooh. He didn't specifically explain what misinformation Zelensky was allegedly pushing on America.
Oh, what about the entire thing that's happening in Ukraine?
I mean, I know. We don't want to talk about the Donetsk and Luhansk war that's been going on
the
for years.
Biolab conversations.
Yeah, we're not allowed to talk about any of that, okay? No, if you're, Zelensky is the golden child right now who
the hero
requires. Yes, he's a hero who requires mythology built around him, and you cannot question it. I'm not even saying he's a bad guy. I'm sure he's a great guy, but just to say stuff to supporters shouldn't. Whatever. Those comments amid Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine were decidedly counter to the general sentiment of support for Ukraine expressed by members of Congress and the American public. The remarks also immediately drew criticism from Cawthorn's primary opponents, one of whom State Senator Chuck Edwards tweeted this: "Let's be clear, the thug is Vladimir Putin." So it says right here, I do love Chris for this, because you wonder, okay, why is that so bad? Well, it's bad because those comments were decidedly counter to the general sentiment. And if there's anything we learned over the pandemic, which is if your comments are counter to the general sentiment, that means you're a bad guy. Doesn't mean if it's true, doesn't mean if it's not true, but if you make statements that go against the general sentiment, the narrative, then you get articles written about you.
Are you saying Chris Schillzilla is a shill for the establishment? Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying, and that's why he gets the big bucks. Chris, you know this. Cawthorn quickly moved to attempt to minimize the damage from his comments. Quote, "The actions of Putin and Russia are disgusting," he tweeted. I love that. Chris is putting it in a way that's like, oh, he doesn't actually think that Putin is bad. He's just tweeting this. But leaders, including Zelensky should not push misinformation on America.
Okay.
Cawthorn has, seems like a totally reasonable tweet.
Yeah, not crazy. Very reasonable.
Yeah. Sounds like a totally cool thing to say. Cawthorn has stirred controversy since 2020. I mean, look, he's 26 years old now, so he hasn't had a lot of time. Cawthorn has stirred controversy since 2020. Oh, you mean the most controversial period in human history?
Oh, keep reading. This is fantastic.
When he won the House seat of former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, despite the fact that then President Donald Trump had endorsed one of his GOP primary opponents. Oh my gosh, he beat the Trump endorsement? That's impressive. Photos of a 2017 trip Cawthorn made to Adolf Hitler's. Okay, now. Okay, I want to be clear. I'm going to ask some questions in a second. I'm going to be clear to all members of the media and Chris Schillzilla's team. I don't know anything about this guy. I literally did not know his name until Chris Schillzilla told me. But here we go.
He's filling us in.
Photos of a 2017 trip. 2017 trip. How old is he? 5
20.
years. He's 21 years old. A 20-year-old kid. Okay, that's what he's talking about. Photos of a 2017 trip when Cawthorn was 20 years old. Cawthorn made a trip to Adolf Hitler's vacation house prior to running for Congress. Surfaced on Instagram. Cawthorn wrote that the visit has been on his bucket list for a while and did not disappoint. Okay.
So he's a Nazi, is what you're telling me.
That's right.
Chris.
I mean, what if he's just a lover of history? I mean, I'm assuming they're talking about let me just follow this hyperlink. What is this? What is it called? The Eagle's Nest? Yeah, here it is. 25-year-old blah, 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 visiting Adolf Hitler's vacation house in Germany known as the Eagle's Nest. The caption refers to Hitler as the Führer and says that a visit to the site, strange to hear so many laughs and share such a good time with my brother, where only 79 years ago a supreme evil shared laughs and good times with his compatriot. Okay, Chris Schillzilla. The caption, the same caption that Chris is saying was on his bucket list and did not disappoint, the same caption referred to Hitler as a supreme evil. So stop it, Chris. I'm blown away by Chris's ability.
I mean, this is
CNN,
talent.
Man. That is a very talented use. No, not even use. A very talented misuse of information.
Oh yeah,
and lying by omission. Because he said, let's move on. Yeah. Geez, Chris. In 2020, a website created for Cawthorn's campaign alleged that New Jersey Senator Cory Booker was aiming to, quote, ruin white males running for office. Right. Now I got to go to that one. I seriously have to check every single thing.
Yeah,
Chris
but it's all CNN, WAPO, CNN.
Right. But even the CNN article for the Hitler thing said, refuted Chris's allegation here. Or his
paywall.
There's a paywall.
That's one of Chris's subscriptions there.
Yeah, we're going to have to look into that. We can't debunk that one. That's a good strategy there, Chris. Link to a paywall article for your source.
Yeah, we try to get around that for our producers. Yeah.
Booker said at the time, it just really personally saddens me that someone who is so clearly racist is a nominee of a major party.
Oh my
and I
gosh.
think it's a disrespect of the entire community. In the wake of the controversy, Cawthorn said that, quote, the syntax. Oh, Cawthorn, this is his response. The syntax of our language was unclear and unfairly implied I was criticizing Cory Booker. Yeah, I'm going to need the details on that one, Chris Schillzilla. In a Washington Post profile of Cawthorn that ran February 2021, Michael Cranish wrote, "The story of Cawthorn's rise is, by any measure, an extraordinary accomplishment at a young age by a man who suffered a horrific injury. But an examination by the Post," cool, so it's a of how he ascended so quickly shows how even one of the most neophyte elected Republicans is adopting Trump playbook, making false statements about his background, issuing baseless allegations about voter fraud, and demonizing his political opponents. The following month, CNN reported the allegations of sexual harassment and misconduct made against Cawthorn by several women when he was in college. For his part, Cawthorn said that quote, "I have never done anything sexually inappropriate in my life," which is, well, a lot. Especially when you consider that Cawthorn hasn't even served a single full term in Congress. Controversy seems to follow him, which is rarely a good thing for an ambitious politician with big dreams. That makes me disrespect Chris Schillzilla more than anything he's ever said. The idea that controversy seems to follow him, because people like you are falsely presenting little pieces of information to make him look worse than he is. Look, I don't know the guy. Maybe he is racist. I don't know. But Chris, what you brought to us here does not in any way prove that. But this part, which is rarely a good thing for an ambitious politician with big dreams. Bro, Chris Schillzilla, where have you been, my friend? The biggest politicians in the world, the most powerful humans on earth, are constantly being followed by controversy. The idea that this good-looking 26-year-old wheelchair pilot is somehow not going to make it in politics because he had a couple Instagram snafus, it simply shows that Chris Schillzilla, A, doesn't respect us as his readers, but also doesn't respect himself because he is blatantly, just a bad reporter, I guess, is the easiest way to put it. So there you go. That's who Cawthorn is, Madison Cawthorn, and that's what Chris thinks about him. So I don't know. Now, when we see this gentleman, we can be like, oh, yeah, dude can drive a car, but not legally, apparently.
I just skimmed through this sexual misconduct allegation article that CNN had here that Chris linked to. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, there's nothing concrete, but I can understand maybe why his license was revoked. He used to, I guess, do these fun drives where you drive really fast.
Yeah, like a college student.
Like a college student. And he would howl at girls and say, hey, how about that fun drive? And yeah, one of the girls was like, there was a lot of sexual innuendo, which suggests to me that there wasn't anything in particular that happened. So it's just he was catcalling some girls.
He was a college boy. And the kind from a privileged background.
Sure.
With a rich daddy, a connected family, probably went to private school, went to some good college.
Yeah, looks like some Navy ties there and stuff. So
Navy tie, never learned the consequences of his actions, had been chosen to, as American sort of aristocracy to be in in Congress by the time he's 26. Yeah, those types of people tend to catcall while driving cars fast.
Well, there you go. Thank you, Chris Schillzilla, for filling us in on Madison Cawthorn.
Yeah.
We know more.
Here's the thing, Gonz. We are not the only people paying attention to Chris.
What?
Okay? Yeah, some other people pay attention to him, and not all of them are as critical as we are, Gonz. Because if you go over to twitchy.com, hey, twitchy.com. You ever heard of twitchy.com? No, neither have I. But over here on twitchy.com, which is some sort of weird news aggregator blog, there is a blog post or article or something, whatever they want to call it, that goes like this. CNN's Chris Schillzilla notes... I'm going to read his actual name. CNN's Chris Schillzilla notes that the possibility of Joe Biden comeback now exists. CNN's Chris Schillzilla in recent years infamously reminded everybody that reporters don't root for a side. And yet, as usual, this tends to sound a bit like rooting for a side. And they just put a bunch of they just posted a tweet of his, which is this the beginning of a Joe Biden comeback? Which we also commented on. We brought that article to the show.
Tweets are what are these tweets?
They're just his tweets.
The possibility of a Joe Biden comeback now exists.
Yeah, he does this a lot, by the way. I meant I was actually going to bring it about this set of tweets. He will write an article and then tweet the article out with like 5 different tweets of just varying syntax. And this is an example. Is this the beginning of a Joe Biden comeback? The possibility of a Joe Biden comeback now exists. And he does this. He'll do it like 5 times. It must really,
be an
really
SEO
good
thing or something.
Yeah, it is. That's what I'm saying. That's
Twitter
him
algo thing.
Trying to get the Twitter algos moving or something. We should do that. Write 5 different descriptions for our
he's
video.
not very popular. There's a lot of people that people on Chris Schillzilla on Twitter.
I like to think that I've sort of been a part of inspiring people to pay attention to this guy and how bad he is at his job. But yes, then there's some tweets about how bad he is at his job from other people. I don't recognize some of these tweeters. I wonder if, anyways.
I don't know. They got the bird logo. Twitchy here has the bird logo. I don't know.
But the point being,
ripping us off.
Yeah, the point being, oh, that's true. Twitchy has a very similar logo to Canary Cry NewsTalk. The point is, Chris is bad at his job. He's going to be axed from CNN. So we need to squeeze as much juice out of this lemon as we possibly can before it's too late, Gonz.